PVLEGS. You've all heard it. So, what is it and why does it matter? This little presentation is going to teach you a little bit more about it in case you missed the in class lesson or you just want a refresher. So, PV Legs, what is it? It is just a mnemonic to help you remember what to do when you're standing in front of people and talking. And you can use this in any class. And really, as you move forward in life, the mnemonic change, like you won't use the same mnemonic that we're using now, but the ideas are exactly the same. You're going to use this in your job when you're presenting in high school and college or trade school or your future job. You're going to use it when you're in interviews. So remember these things and be familiar with them and get comfortable. I know that for some of you, public speaking is the scariest thing in the world. I totally get it. For me, if you can believe it, it was pretty scary too. And sometimes it still is. But it's something we do have to do in order to succeed in whatever path we choose. So even if your path is an independent solo worker, you're still going to need to get there, right? So we need to be good at this or at least comfortable. So this will help you. So PV legs, each one of them stands for something. Poise. Sorry for the fogginess of this slide, but poise basically means you appear calm and confident and you avoid distracting behavior. So when you're standing or sitting, you're not going to be picking your nails, you're not playing with your hair, you're not playing with your phone or looking at your watch. If you need to, remove your watch before you enter a situation like this if it's something you become distracted by. Make sure that you're kind of taking deep breaths and appearing calm. So if you appear calm and confident, it really does help. Sometimes I like to practice maybe taking a breath. So if I feel like I'm not very confident, take a breath, take a moment. It's okay. Next is voice. You're going to speak clearly and use a volume that's right for the space. In class, I gave some demonstrations about this. On this video, I'm just going to kind of demonstrate it in a softer way. But imagine you're in a huge room and you're speaking in the tone of voice I'm using right now. Is that loud enough to reach across the room? Probably not. You're going to want to raise the octave. Imagine that you're in a classroom, the air conditioner's on, the leaf blower's going outside. You're going to want to raise your voice so that everybody in your room can hear you. On the opposite side, if you're in a small office doing an interview, do you want to raise your voice so loud like this? No, it's pretty unnatural. So you want to speak in a conversational tone. It needs to be right for the space you're in. And that's something that comes with practice. I know a lot of people are uncomfortable to speak loudly in class. I totally get it. But it is something that if you work on, it will become easier. Life. Express emotion and interest in your voice. If you're talking about something like, let's say I'm giving a presentation on how soccer is the greatest sport in the world. If I'm talking like this, soccer is the greatest sport in the world. It is played by millions and watched by millions. It is the best game. Is that fun to listen to? I think the answer to that is not really. We need to add a little bit of life without going overboard because you also don't want to annoy people. So you might, the opposite would be something like this. Soccer is so great. I love it so much. And you guys have to play it. You have to watch it. It's so annoying. Is that annoying? Probably. Or you're laughing or you're groaning or you're thinking, Miss Fields, you're super embarrassing. Either way, it's not appropriate, right? You need it's a right tone and emotion. For example, you might notice that people across the world come out in hundreds of thousands to watch games at packed stadiums. Soccer is an amazing sport, watched all around the world, and it only grows in popularity in the United States. Do you see how my voice kind of had more emotion in it without being obnoxious? So, what I try to do is I encourage you to find something about the subject matter that interests you, and then it will be a little bit easier to find life in your topic and show it in your voice. All right, next, eye contact. I wish I could do this in person because this one's kind of funny. You do need to make eye contact with people on occasion. You really do, especially in this culture. Not all cultures are the same way, but in America, it is deemed a proper etiquette to occasionally make eye contact with people when you're speaking to them. However, too much eye contact can be uncomfortable. You should practice this with your siblings. It's very entertaining. Look at the audience member. So As I'm looking around the classroom, look at me next time I'm teaching. You'll notice that I look around the classroom and I make eye contact with various students. I'm trying to engage everybody. I'm trying to encourage you guys to be excited about the lesson or at least involved. I do this for a reason. Okay. I'm trying to include you all. I'm trying to get you to be interested. If I'm staring at the TV or I'm staring at my notes or I'm staring at the ground, the audience is not going to be as interested in what I have to say. Conversely, if I'm staring at one student the entire time, that is very uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. So try it out. Try to make eye contact. Now, in the movie trailer, it's a little bit different. So when you're being filmed, it's different. However, it is still important to look up. If you're looking at your notes the whole time during the movie trailer or you're looking at the ground, it's the same thing. You need to pretend like the camera is the audience. So whether or not you're staring at the camera or you're aware that the camera is watching you. I hope that makes sense. Talk to each other. But in public speaking, you need to be aware of the other people, the audience, and or the camera. Makes a big difference. Gestures. You've probably seen me in class do gestures. You've seen each other do gestures. If you're standing in front of the class, now let's use the soccer thing as an example. If I'm standing in front of the class talking about soccer and how it's the greatest sport in the world, if I stand there and my hands are at my sides the entire time and I'm wooden, it conveys a certain lack. I wouldn't necessarily say lack of interest, but the audience is not going to be as interested. You also don't want to move around like a crazy person, right? So you don't want to run around and flail your arms and jump and things like that. But to use certain gestures that are appropriate for the subject matter makes your audience more entertained. For example, if you're talking about soccer in the audience, you might throw your hands out when you're talking about a particularly big audience to show how big it is. When you're talking about how people love soccer, you might move your hands towards your chest, like moving it out back and forth, like you're excited, you love it, that kind of thing. So move your body a little bit, make your face expressive. That's going back to the life. You want people to be interested in your topic. And even if your topic is kind of mundane and boring, like an informational topic about one of the amendments of the United States, you can talk about things that interest people and convey that interest using your facial expressions and gestures. Last but not least is speed. Now, I've noticed that students in my class, when they get nervous, and myself included, I've done this before, um, we have a tendency to talk too fast, right? That's very, very easy to do. So use appropriate speed for your topic. And remember, we've talked about pacing over and over again. Sometimes with topics, you will speed up or slow down to make your audience more interested. It's kind of like building suspense with your voice. So if I'm talking about soccer, again, to use the same topic, I might talk about gameplay and I might say, the reason soccer is so exciting is because at 1 minute things might be moving slow and they're pacing out their passes and they're setting up a goal that they hope is coming. And suddenly somebody kicks the ball over the middle of the field and the wing is running down the left side of the field streaking and he's wide open and he passes it over and somebody jumps with their head and they score. That is the exciting part of soccer. Do you see how my speed kind of went a little faster and then slowed down? Like that's not something that um, you can be an expert at right away. But I guarantee it, you can do that when you're talking if you practice. But the most important thing is don't talk too fast because you're nervous. If you find that you're getting nervous, take a beat. It's okay to pause. For example, the reason why soccer is so important is because so many people like it all over the world. Do you see how I paused there? Maybe I forgot what I was going to say. Maybe I got nervous. You take a moment to breathe, just like I just did. That is totally appropriate. And in most cases, it actually adds interest. So I hope this helped. Go through each of these. If I were you, I would suggest practicing it myself in my room. Maybe make a recording of yourself because I guarantee you're going to be using this for the rest of your life. I've talked to high school teachers that have said that sometimes the ninth graders are not super prepared for public speaking. And that goes as far as even standing up in front of the class and saying something like when I call on you guys to speak in front of our class. Practice it then. Try to face the discomfort because the more you face it, the more easy it's going to become for you. I hope this helps.